All right, Shannon. Well, we are fully live here. Welcome to the second Clean Slate Spotlight. Everybody, thanks for hopefully watching the first one. Shannon, I'm going to start by having you introduce yourself because I am actually not sure I know how to say your last name. So why don't you give me a little sense of who you are?
No problem. Good morning. My name is Shannon Pieck. I am a certified recovery specialist here in Scranton with Clean Slate. I was born and raised not necessarily in this area. This is Lackawanna County. I'm one county south in Luzerne County. I was born and raised and pretty much lived there my whole life, outside of a very brief stint in the military where I spent about 5 months away from home. Northeastern Pennsylvania has been my home.
Cool. I never would have got Pieck. I thought it was Peck or Pieck. So,
Yeah.
All right, good. I learned something already. So not so subtle here. I have The Office background in honor of your work in Scranton, which Kevin Hughes already told me is nothing like the actual show. But can you tell us a little bit about Scranton, working in the city there, and what your team's like?
This was actually sort of, just came upon me. I knew a few people that worked up here at the time, including the person who trained me, Marcy. And I was coming up here to train with her. My first 2 days were in Wilkes-Barre, which were I was originally supposed to work. And then I came up here for the next, week and 3 days to train with Marcy. And it just so happens that they needed a position filled up here.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I guess Alyssa and Marcy took to me and, sort of brought me in. And I've been really just learning a lot about Lackawanna County, its resources. That's probably been one of the biggest pros, because I worked in Luzerne County, for years. And and I couldn't say enough about this team. Another person recently had applied, sent his resume in with Clean Slate, and I talk up this team, this location, like they're family. And it hasn't been quite a year yet. I believe another 3 weeks it'll be a year up here.
Wow, it seems like you've been with us longer. I feel like you've been, because they talk about you so much. And Alyssa, sings your praises all the time. Caitlin, it's not to make you blush or anything here, but definitely a great addition to the team. And I agree. I mean, the Scranton team they've always been special, cranking out not just a ton of work, but in a really small space. And you really have to like the people you work with when especially in the early stages there.
Absolutely. I do believe I'm blessed. The last job I had in this field, not including the part-time work from October of 2019 to February of 2020. But before that, the position I had in Luzerne County and the place I was working really didn't end too well. And so I believe, I believe I was brought up to Lackawanna County to sort of give that a break, because it wasn't a good experience. And I know one of the questions about working in this field, after that job, I really wanted to just finish my human services degree, and I would have been happy working in something other than drug and alcohol. But Clean Slate really, I couldn't say enough about,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really, I think, fortuitous on both sides. It sounds like we found a good match. And so, kind of, I guess, segueing into, you mentioned your degree, and I don't know the stats there, but just personal life or anything you'd want to share as far as what's going on in your world and dealing with the pandemic and everything else that goes on with it.
My undergrad for human services is still ongoing. Hopefully I'll be completing that in the next, I'm hoping, a year and a half. I just received the second dose of the COVID-19 vaccination, and that I heard for
Lucky
people
you.
really, I heard people really feeling the effects of it, and they were right.
Yeah.
It really took me down a little bit, and but like Alyssa said and a few others, it's better to have went through that little flu-like symptom, you know, whatever it was, actually contracting the virus.
Yeah, for sure. I got my first dose yesterday, and I'm a huge wimp when it comes to that sort of stuff. You know, so every little, you know, I cough a little bit. I'm like, that's it. I'm going down. And I haven't even had the second, which is supposed to be the big, you know, the big one. But yeah, I'm glad you guys are taking that initiative and kind of playing it safe out there. It'll be beneficial for our patients and for our staff. And so anyway, the most important question, selfishly for me, I spend a lot of time at home. I am quarantined most of the time and working solo. Feel like I'm at the bottom of the barrel for Netflix right now. What can you recommend to me? What are you watching, if anything, or reading, or, you know, doing to keep yourself busy?
I purposely purchased CBS All Access just to watch the remake of The Stand.
Really? I don't know The Stand.
I like it. I think it's, so far it's very good. It's, you know, it's true to the book. Yeah, I've really enjoyed. I enjoyed the first one. Came out when I was in high school. The book came out, I believe, years before that. I'm not even sure when, but back in the early and mid '90s when I was in high school, the first TV series came out, the mini series, and you know, I loved it. You know, I've always been a big Stephen King fan, so.
I would say, Shannon, that is probably the most unique answer I'm going to get. I don't know if anybody else has purchased a streaming service to watch The Stand, and so that is, I put a circle next to that one. I'm currently watching the Great British Baking Show, so I have you know, no shame in saying watching cool. I'm learning tips and tricks, you know, and it's a very easy, pleasant show. So that's what I'm into right now. But I circled The Stand because I don't think anybody else is going to tell me that. All right, let's kind of switch into the I guess the meat of our conversation here. Tell me about why you became a CRS, what CRS life is like for you.
I became a CRS. A friend of mine who works at a local sort of the governing insurance body here in northeastern Pennsylvania, Community Care Behavioral Health. A friend of mine was working for there and mentioned this to me. I remember doing an interview with this person for my speech class in 2019 or 18. And she was telling me about, you know, no, this might have been even sooner because I think it was early 2018 because I had originally been certified in the summer of 2018. And I remember sitting down with her and doing this, it was an interview for I had to have a live witness for, I forgot what kind of, I think it might have been a persuasive speech, but neither here or there, but she was telling me about smart recovery, and she was certified the year before, and this whole other world of recovery because, you know, since 2007, my world has primarily been one specific pathway. And yeah, and it just intrigued me. And so I went out and I figured, you know, why not learn something new? At the time, I was going to school part-time. I think I was going to school full-time, and I was working a lot of odd and end jobs, part-time work at halfway houses. And so I'm thinking, you know what, this will probably go good, you know, with my degree. Yeah. And here, a year later, the local college worked the CRS, they call it a diploma, into their human services and social work degree.
Wow.
So I guess it was a good fit. My first job working in this field was for the recovery center in Luzerne County, and like we talked a little earlier, that just wasn't the right fit. But I learned a lot, and I continue to learn a lot about meeting people where they're at. Thinking that I've been in recovery at that point for almost 12 years, and thinking, of course, I know a lot, and I'm learning at the micro level, and now it's like the macro level.
Yeah,
and, multiple pathways, and again, I learned a little bit by researching MAT and reading up, talking with some people who have, been on that pathway and was involved with MAT programs, but not until I came to Clean Slate. And now it's like geometric how much I'm learning about this particular pathway.
Yeah.
You can only learn so much from conversation and books.
Right. Yeah, and that's the most valuable thing, I think. We have doctors, nurse practitioners, we have people with really a ton of education, but the lived experience and the value you guys bring from a peer perspective, it's hard to measure, and I was hoping, if it's okay with you, you could tell us a little bit about the film work you've been doing recently that Kyle shared with me. You're a bit of a celebrity, and I want to put you on the spot, but
I wouldn't go that far as film work or celebrity or anything like that. I'm not comfortable being in the position I'm in right now with you. When I have to get up and speak for groups, it's usually
you're a modest guy.
It's usually not. I'm being honest to God. Usually when I get up and speak, it's usually very informal, and it's just talking about my experience.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's for a particular topic, which, believe it or not, I'm more comfortable with, because at least I have papers in front of me and I can research certain things.
Yeah.
And talk about numbers. But when it's sort of off the cuff, even like this, it's I don't know. They said, that anxiety that you feel, it's God shaking the truth out of you, and I sort of believe it.
Well, hopefully when you're talking to a guy with a goat on his shirt and a white headband, it helps you loosen up a little bit.
You're definitely easing it up a little bit.
Yeah.
But no, around here, what Kyla sent you, it was WVIA's, the local PBS station.
Mm-hmm.
And they are, I think now they're up to 7 parts of the ongoing battle with opioid addiction. I believe it's called Battling Opiates is the name of this piece that PBS is doing.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the producers that I met down at the recovery center, he kept my number, and he, I guess, featured me in one of his segments. And of course, I usually try to say yes when somebody asks me to step up to the plate for recovery, and I don't really go with the mindset that I'm going to be helping or saving people. I just, try to be honest and let people know where I'm at, and that seems to come across just fine.
Yeah.
I'll
say, Shannon, I think that regardless of what you put across, it's pretty impactful, and you might not even be able to measure what the outcome is, but just the fact that every day you guys are helping people feel more comfortable in sharing. And I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot a little bit, and I appreciate you even stepping out on the ledge a little here. But the purpose of even these interviews is to help our companies too understand what a CRS does. We're going to start to hopefully incorporate these services throughout the company a little bit more. And it's still going to be unfamiliar to some folks. So, you're doing me a service just by explaining what it is you guys do. And every day when you put yourself out with our patients too, I mean, there's difficult to measure impact that I think you guys deliver and is really valuable. So, I appreciate you kind of humoring me a little bit and letting me know what you're about and how you got to this place. And I guess my next question is, you're working with folks, you're working with people. Is there a certain life experience or skill set that you share with them to say, hey, this worked for me, but it might not work for you, but this was sort of my, helpful hint? Or is it more just kind of sharing your overall experience?
I'm not sure I don't know if I'd call it a life experience or a skill set. I definitely wouldn't. It's just, I guess it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to not know, and it's okay to ask for help.
Yeah.
Those were things that I thought were like impossible almost. Could never show weakness, never feel, that inadequacy. I never wanted to have people see that scared little boy.
Right.
And when I tell people that I am in recovery, it's sort of like takes them, really? When I share a little experience about, about being out there, it just blows their mind, because normally I'm pretty clean shaven. In the wintertime, I let it grow a little, but I have this, I don't know, demeanor or whatever of looking like law enforcement. When I'm out, we've been doing this little thing out in the lobby where we're sitting out there interacting.
Yeah.
And letting people know what's going on. And a couple of times they thought are you security here? I'm like, no. Security.
I could see that.
I got the same thing when I was out in active addiction. When I'd go try and, get what I needed, people thought I was a cop, and it was really hard.
Wow.
I guess because I've always been sort of clean cut, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Big, I don't know.
Yeah. I could see that, Shannon, for sure. I could see that.
But, I try to just, let them know that, that it's okay, and I try to be that example. And, we're supposed to be like ambassadors for the recovery community, and at the same time, try to get people back into assimilated back into the community. We, try to refer people to outside sources if they need counseling or housing or transportation, anything like that. And we're just starting to loosen up here with as far as COVID-19 numbers, to where we could start meeting people out at their appointments.
Yeah, that's huge.
And to me, that's huge.
Yeah.
That's something I didn't have when I came in. Now, I don't know. I think I turned out okay, but it was nerve-wracking. And it was exhausting.
Yeah. And
it was overwhelming at times. And fortunately, I had enough willingness, and I had enough people around me. And it's that support, that added support that we bring, that is huge.
Yeah. Do you have a patient or a person served story that you can share? That
I do.
Okay, awesome.
I
you just
do.
lit up, so I know that's what you like talking about.
I do. A particular patient with multiple co-occurring disorders was homeless, actively using. I inherited this patient from previous CRS that was employed here, and really the patient wanted nothing to do with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember it was on the second or third visit where this patient actually told me, so-and-so, meaning the previous CRS, did a lot, went out of their way, and, met me out and about, and was able to, sort of bring services to me and help me out in the community with, I think one thing they mentioned was food. And I took it to heart. I listened to what they said. And this was in the summer of last year. Things started to really loosen up as far as COVID. I believe we went to green, where it was like, you could be out and about, and,
that little window. Yeah.
Yeah. And the person at the time was staying at a local motel. and asked about food. And so I, researched local food banks. I found a food bank. They were maybe like a town over from Scranton. And I found a church that had a food drive. I believe it was every Thursday afternoon. You can stop by and pick up, boxes of food, maybe like a half a gallon of milk or something like that, and bread. And so I went down, got a hold of the church, found out the hours, went down there, told this patient, and was able to pick them up food on 2 different occasions and bring it to the hotel room. And I can still remember the person. I had 2 nice bags of groceries in the back of my Jeep. And I got out and opened the Jeep up, and he was like going back and forth, tap dancing almost. And he's like, yeah, I told my mom that what you're doing for me here. And she told me to promise to be nicer to you now. God love, I got to do that twice, and it really established rapport. And I believe it let this patient know that I was real.
Yeah.
I'm not just sitting here looking to fill a quota or take an attendance or anything like that.
Yeah.
That I'm willing to get up and actually help. And it turned out this person actually became homeless in the fall and into the winter. And it took twice to get them into treatment. But the second time they agreed. And, granted, a lot of this is on them. They have to show up.
Right.
The facility agreed to pick them up here at the office on North 9th Ave. And like I said, this person has severe co-occurring disorders. So the facility that they were going to was well equipped to treat them.
Good.
And they came out, and they have put together so far a very successful. This is since the end of November, beginning of December. They actually got moved to bi-weekly. And every 2 weeks, people are congratulating me, but I'm like, this is a group thing, man.
Yeah.
This is definitely from the MR right at the front window to everyone.
Yeah.
And the person feels safe here. And that's like, I can't ask for anything more than that.
That's it. Yeah. Your story is so typical of the folks that we work with having several people that will rotate in and out of their lives and sort of maybe some sort of attachment issue and saying, okay, here's this guy, looks like a cop, coming into my life, and I don't know this guy from Adam, and I don't trust him, and I don't like him. And, you bring him some food, and even that, as easy as that is for you as a gesture, that just goes so far for folks. And maybe that the lighting of the fuse that sends them off into being more engaged, and that little step then now get into maybe trusting a recovery program and trust, not to say it's, like you said, it's a total team effort, but man, being able to find that first engagement piece is so critical for so many of our people. So that's a great story. I appreciate you sharing that. And I'm gonna push forward to what I think is another one of my most important questions around stories, which is, if telling the story of your life, if you were to write a book about the story of Shannon Pieck, whether it's in recovery or just life in general, what would you title it?
Instruments.
One word.
Instruments.
Why?
A friend of mine, this is back in, my early, listen to me, I sound like I'm like 200 years old, but this is like back in I think 2008 or 2009. A friend of mine, she is a social worker down in Luzerne County. She runs a local housing shelter down there. And I remember telling her about this idea, one of the sayings that the pathway of recovery that I chose to be in, it says that we're an instrument. It's actually one of the prayers of this program. is that we're instruments for God, basically, and we're here to be, to be like a conduit to like help people, bridge that gap. And I was telling her, I remember when I was in active addiction, I believed like, in my, not to be like religious or philosophical, but if you acknowledge the existence of one higher being, logic would dictate that you have to acknowledge the opposite, the lower being. And I believed like when I was out in active addiction, I was, just doing a lot of bad things. And basically almost like unconsciously, and I believe I was an instrument for that lower being.
Yeah.
I was just very, very, very bad things, and in no regard of anyone else but myself. And it's just the opposite now. Just like a flip.
Yeah.
Now it's really how much can I do for the other person? And trying to be, again, that instrument. It's either an instrument for good or an instrument for bad. And,
Shannon, I'll read your book whenever you decide to write it.
She actually bought me a little book. It's maybe an inch thick.
Uh-huh.
And she had it, like the cover of it and everything. It says instruments on there. And,
okay, there you go.
And,
you got the framework there. But yeah, I mean, book or otherwise, you remind me of why I do what I do. So thank you for sharing today. I'm gonna wrap it there, just because our conversation has taken us, a good amount of time here. And you've been just so easy to engage. I know you said you were nervous, but man, this is a lot of fun. This is a lot of fun for me. So I appreciate it. I edit out some of this, small talk at the end, but I appreciate you jumping on. Seriously, I know it's not the most comfortable thing in the world. I'm going to keep doing this. I think it's important for people to hear what our staff are doing. I want to interview care coordinators. I want to interview support staff. I want to do the managers. A lot of it's selfish because I don't get to see you guys a lot anymore. But I don't think we have enough stories of what our people are doing and like who our people are. And from my perspective and from our leadership perspective, we have to focus so much on the finances and it matters, like it helps keep us going, but your work is the stuff that matters. So I want to make sure I'm sharing this with people.
Thank you, Brian.
Yeah. All right, man, you're off the spotlight. I'll be around as always if you need anything, but I do appreciate you and thanks for taking the time. Hope you have a great day.
You too, Brian. Thank you very much.
All right, bro. Take care.
Bye.